Are you happy in your business? Now, I have had my share of emotional ups and downs in my 20 years of being a solo entrepreneur coach, and the patterns I've seen in myself and in my clients is that those downs are usually when I was personally feeling unfulfilled. Sometimes it was because a launch that flopped, and sometimes it was just life and had nothing to do with business. But those ups, oh boy, those are the times when I was feeling my most authentic and completely aligned to my purpose, or when I just felt like I was rocking that work-life balance. I would be thinking I could do this all day long and never feel tired. One of my loves is sharing what works for me and what has been working for my clients to achieve this very feeling, full of passion, happiness, peace, and freedom. So I decided to create a private podcast for coaches. Maybe you just want to develop better communication skills that boosts engagement, leads to better results, and makes you feel like you're actually making a difference in the lives of the people you serve. Then you're invited too. We talk about this and more in the UBU private podcast for coaches. Whether you're a mentor, a parent, or run a client-focused business, coaching skills benefit everyone and anyone who wants to communicate in a way that builds relationships. Fall in love with your life and business again. Click the link in the show notes for your invitation to join us right now. Then come back and enjoy this episode. Hey, difference maker. Have you been the go-to Enneagram person in your circle of friends? Well, that was me for a long time before I officially became certified as an Enneagram coach. But I had to eat some crow when I found out that I was not the type that I thought I was. Now, today I'm talking with Lindsey Haeger, the host of the Peacemakers podcast, as she wrestles with the notion that she might not be a type 9 after all. It's time to stop comparing yourself to others and plug into what is uniquely you. Welcome to Unbox Your Personality, the podcast for coaches, parents, and mentors like you who understand that your happiness makes you more effective at what you do, bringing out the best in others. I'm Jen P. Higgins, personality strategist and Enneagram fluff remover. Get laser focused on who you are and who you aren't, so you're free to make the impact you were born to make. And have fun doing it. Your personality is your business. So let's get down to business. Well, hello. Today I am speaking with Lindsey Haeger. Did I pronounce that correct?
Hello. Yes, Haeger.
All right. So, Lindsey, just tell our listeners a little about your podcast.
Yes, I'm Lindsey Haeger. I live in Nashville, and my background is in marriage and family therapy. So my master's is marriage and family therapy, and I've spent over 10 years in the school system doing professional school counseling. And then over the past 4 years, I shifted to being at home, being with my daughter before she went to kindergarten. She's now in second grade, which is crazy. Like COVID, like I'm like, how did we get from kindergarten to second grade? And she was 6 and now she's 8. Anyway, that's a whole other episode story, side note. But at the beginning of COVID, I launched my podcast. And so I went into 2020. Backtrack just a second. Whenever I left the school system, I wanted to work from home while she was here before kindergarten and just start a life coaching business. And I was kind of just needing a shift from the intensity of the school system and the mental health aspect of being in a private practice prior to that. And so I just needed a shift and wanted more of the, I'm an introvert and I just needed a shift all around. The funny thing is that when you leave the job going to something else that you think you really want, like you find out, oh, I'm still here. Like wherever I go, I take all this with me. So that's been like the hardest thing. But I started the Peacemakers community. So I was really getting into the Enneagram and kind of discovering all the types, but really honing in on the type 9. And so I started Peacemakers community and then a podcast that came out the week of COVID. like going, like everyone went, in quarantine. So like March the 18th is when it came out. Since then, we've done like a little group coaching that we've done. And I have like one-to-one clients, and really it's life coaching using the Enneagram. I don't have my certification. I've been through some trainings for the Enneagram, but just incorporating the Enneagram language into helping people make their lives better. So that's kind of in a nutshell. I was telling Jen before we started recording that I've been in the biggest quandary of my life over the past 6 months to a year, is thinking, oh my gosh, I think I'm not a 9. I think I'm actually a 6. So that's a little issue there we can chat about. But reading your book has shined some lights on my struggle. So maybe you can help me. You can diagnose me today with things.
It's not a diagnosis, right? It's just a finger pointing to which box.
Yes.
Which box is yours?
I love how I got to know you. Like, you were one of the first people that I connected with when I started. I started out on Instagram as Enneagram 9 Stories, and now it's just my name, lindseyhaeger.co. But when I started, somehow we got connected, and I think you were starting to talk about your podcast, and you told me that your husband was a 9, and then I met your husband. I did like a type 9 panel. And so it's kind of been fun to be connected with you over the past few years.
Yeah.
Even though we've never met, we live in the same state and we've never met in person.
Don't we? But you've been a part of my launch team for the book. And I would love, what's your first react?
Yeah. So I think one of the things, because I've been a part of your Facebook group, and you were like throwing out ideas for the title. And when I saw what you came down to, and let me get the title like right in front of my face so I say it exactly. The Secret to Being You, just like that. And reading your introduction, I was like, that's perfect, because you start out talking about your history of how you've just been in the personality world through work and through your degrees, your statistics, and just the way your brain is formed, I think, and your excitement for it at the same time. But then also being a mom, and how you brought all this history that you had with personality to parenting your son, and the dynamic of both of your kids, and, working together with both of them, helping them both bring the best of who they were, to your family, and you bringing the best of who you were. And like, after I finished that introduction, I was like, she nailed it. That was incredible. And I've just loved it. I mean, I know we're going to talk about it more, but I love, like, I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to new information, learning, like, how can I know myself more and how can I know myself better? I feel like, I hope people will read it, because I'm like, this is like next step Enneagram. Is like, now let's take it and grow. And I think it's going to be one of those books that like sits on people's like side table. They're like, oh, let's see what Jen had to say about this.
Yay.
I'm loving it.
And I love that you read the introduction. Because I did take a poll. I took a poll. Are you the kind of reader that reads introductions, or do you skip to chapter 1? And so I'm glad you gave a little review there on the introduction, and people read it.
Well, then also you carry that throughout the book. Like, I felt like the introduction like connected us to you, but then at the beginning of each chapter, you're still sharing stories about yourself, which when you're learning a new kind of process of information, you need to have that personal connection. So I felt that vibe throughout the book.
Thank you. That's a very awesome compliment. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I wanted to, our focus today to really be on the 9 acknowledgement languages, because you already have a background in the Enneagram and with working with it and studying it for yourself. I didn't realize that we might be using it also to see if you are truly a 9 or a 6. So when you were reading about the 9 acknowledgement languages, were you already thinking that you were a type 6 before that, or did it
Yeah.
kind of just put it?
It's something I've been struggling with over the past year. I had a family member that is still going through a really ugly family situation. And my involvement in her life and trying to help her and support her has just, well, clearly it's a stressful situation, but just the way that I'm reacting and trying to go and rescue, and out of fear of keeping her safe, keeping the people involved safe, like emotionally safe, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And also like trying to keep myself internally together and feeling safe. It's brought up a lot of that 6 energy. And I have found that in order to regroup, I have to come back to that 9 space. Like I have to take the growth path for the 6 which would be more of like tapping into that 9 energy. So yeah, I think I'm thinking what I'm doing here is reading your book is kind of coming at the perfect time, because I'm landing the plane going into like, I'm a type 6, and it's like God has placed your book in my life to say like, let's just call it what it is. Because when I don't know what chapter, was it chapter like 4 or 5 where you're talking about your experience, you thought that you were a 4.
Mm-hmm. Which I'm clearly not.
Yeah, my husband's a 4.
Clearly not a 4.
Yeah. And maybe someday we can talk about the why I have thought I was a 9.
We can talk about it now.
Okay. So, I've always known that I'm an anxious person. Like I've always, since I was a child, struggled with fear. But it's always been internal. It's just like dealing with the internal fear of, going to the dentist, or, am I going to die? Or someone in my life going to die? And feeling like I needed the people around me to hold my hand and rescue me of some sort, like support me.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm the youngest in my family. And as I look back and kind of see the dynamic of my household, I feel like I just was forgotten almost. I was the youngest child of parents that got married too young. My mom was pregnant with my brother. And it was just like, by the time I came along, like they loved me in a sense of like, she's the baby and everyone's going to baby her and meet her needs. But like the emotional needs and like what's the safety you're needing, what's under the surface that you're dealing with, they just had no clue of what I was struggling with. And I'm not a super I can talk if someone's asking questions, but I'm not a verbal, like give you all the information that you might need. Like I don't even sometimes know what to say, or I don't even know how to get the thoughts from my head out to the world. And because I think I didn't have that intentional like digging into from others, I just sat and cycled in that, what do you call it? That over analyzing, trying to make sense of things, trying to ultimately, I think, feel safe. But I was just spiraling all the time in my head, cycling in my head. But the reason I thought I was a 9 is because I have the counseling. I mean, once I was 20 and on into college and my master's program, I have a lot of experience with strategies. I have my go-to strategies of how to calm myself down. I take medicine for anxiety. So I've had 20 years, after leaving the nest, of practicing these things. So I think that I've been looking at a lot of the behaviors that they say 9s have. And that's where I got it wrong. Because
Such as
it's not the behaviors, it's the motivations.
Which behaviors are you thinking of?
Behaviors of like zoning out in a conversation if it's too much, tapping out. But I have done that intentionally. I tap out intentionally because I'm like, I don't need this. It's not good for me. And I know that if I engage in this more, it's going to rile me up inside. But what I'm understanding about 9s is that they are doing that unconsciously. It's just like their internal defense mechanism.
Yeah.
And I've always connected with the sloth side of the 9. I think if I'm a 6, I think I'm a wing 5. And so that 5 wing is a lot of a different energy than a 7 wing. And so that 5, I'm very much research oriented. And if I'm stressed, I'm going into my head. I'm just going into my bedroom basically, and I can think on something for days and days and days. But this looks like withdrawing. Withdrawing for me, if I am a 6, was that like going in to protect myself. And if I can just get the information that I need and read, or, prepare more, learn more, then I'm going to feel safe enough to go out into the world and conquer, hopefully, whatever's in front of me. Let's see what else. Oh, so the sloth part of the 9 I've connected with, the disconnecting from the chaos in order to maintain my inner peace. I think I have equated anxiety and peace, not equated. I've paired those together. Like, I'm an anxious person, so I need peace. Like, I'm grasping for peace at all costs. Mm-hmm. And so the peace language of the peacemaker of the type 9, I'm like, yeah, that's what I need majorly. And then the loyal language of the 6, I don't find myself to be so loyal. I find myself to be flippant a lot of times and irresponsible and not doing the things I think I should be doing. Whenever procrastination, whenever I start procrastinating and, putting things off, then I pull away from people even more, and I pull away into my little cocoon of, I gotta get something together here because I'm not feeling peaceful inside. But what I'm finding is that the more I learn about 6 wing 5 and how they deal with leaders and how they trust people, that's another big thing for me. I don't find myself being someone that scans the environment for the exits. That a lot of times the 6 languages, like the sixes are the ones that are going to go into the room. They're going to know where the exits are. They're going to know where their safety items are. I'm like, no, that's not me, because I have this other side of myself that is very lackadaisical about things. That's where I haven't resonated with the 6.
Are you feeling a bit disappointed that you haven't finished that project yet? Are the kids' schedules impacting your business? Or are the demands of your business affecting your relationships at home? Maybe you need a magic formula for that work-life balance before your fire gets so dim or it completely burns out. I've been there. There was a point in my life where I was juggling 2 businesses and homeschooling and had personal health issues. There was barely time to even connect with myself, much less connect with my husband. When I was finally officially diagnosed with ADHD, I felt like that explained everything. I had a new perspective and started approaching things in a new way. So I created a guide containing 20 tips that I personally use, and they have worked for me for helping me stay on course with my goals. Now, you might not have ADHD, but I bet you can relate to having a million distractions during the day. So if you're ready to stop procrastinating or stop being hard on yourself for missing yet another deadline, self-imposed or not, go ahead and download the guide at powercoachjen.com. If you just find one tip from the list that helps you move forward today, you will be so glad you took the time to read it. Go to powercoachjen.com and download the guide right now. So do you feel like that lackadaisical attitude, was that something that you've had all your life or something that you've matured into?
Well, I think that it has to do with me being the youngest child. Mm-hmm. Because even though my family didn't provide me the safety that, hindsight's 2020, so as an adult, I'm looking back thinking, man, I really needed all these things that unfortunately they weren't equipped to give me. But what they could give me was pat Lindsey on the head, support, like Lindsey's the baby. Oh, Lindsey needs like they were giving me those, like literally I was kind of a baby. Like I was like your little, not brat, but start to cry and get what you want type of youngest child. They were taking care of me within their sphere of safety. Like, this is the amount of safety that we can provide anyone in this household. And if anyone in this house is getting some safety, it's Lindsey, because she's the baby. But like, what I really needed was like someone to get in my face and be like, you are safe. Nothing's going to happen. We got you. Like, we are here supporting you. Like, talk to us. Like, I needed them to like cradle me.
Mm-hmm.
So the lackadaisical, if I'm with somebody that I feel pretty safe with, that's when you'll see it, that lackadaisical part come up more, because I'm just like, oh, they got it, I'm good. But if I'm with somebody that I don't trust, then it's like, great, here we go. Like, I'm about to be super tense, super stressed. Shoulders are going to be all tight and probably going to be like exuding anger, because ultimately, like, I don't want to be taking care of this stuff, and I don't want to have to take care of your stuff, but I'm going to, because apparently you can't keep us safe.
Mm-hmm.
Because that anger in me only really comes out in those moments of have to go towards the thing that's scary. That anger really comes out. I've compared that to being a 9. Well, my anger really only comes out in those moments, but other 9s say that their anger really doesn't come out that much either. That's another way.
Even in those moments.
Yeah. That's very true.
Even in those moments, the anger won't come out. They're like, they don't even know they're supposed to be angry.
So I don't know if what I'm saying makes sense, and I'm still trying to get my head wrapped around more of the 6. But that's kind of how I'm pairing it together at this moment. This is why I have thought that I was a 9. And I think being on medication does ease me up a lot on that anxiety overthinking part.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like feeling like I need support. So when they label 6s as like, oh, they're the ones that are like raising their hand, trying to get their questions answered, I'm like, I'm not like that. However, I am thinking it in my head. I am thinking, have they thought of this? They probably haven't thought of this. And well, we'll see how this goes. Like, I am thinking the negativity.
Have you always been like that? Like, think about, so what age were you when you left home?
I was 18.
18. So
yeah.
So when you were 18, that first year of freedom, right?
Mm-hmm.
What were you like?
This is a tricky question. What was I like? I was super, when I went off to college, it was a really difficult first year for me. The first semester was difficult because it's like, I've been irresponsible my whole life, have had my hand held throughout school, had ADHD, undiagnosed at the time. And I really needed probably like not like a full-time aide, but I needed some pull-out services and some extended time on tests and things like that I didn't know was available. So when I went to college, I was really struggling with that learning aspect and just the responsibility of being an adult away from my support. And then in January of that same freshman year, my parents of 30 years got divorced. Parents being married 30 years got divorced. And so it's tricky when you ask me that question, like, what was I like? I was very irresponsible, very much like needed someone to save me in a support me kind of way. And then they got divorced, and they were my foundation. However cracked that foundation was, they were all that I knew. And I went in hardcore because my mom was leaving the marriage. My dad was a pastor. And so I'd grown up in that pastor family my whole life. And my mom was leaving, and I went hardcore against her. You are breaking our family apart, and just really hardcore, like, you're doing something wrong here. Like, you are causing me unsafe. I don't feel good. You're taking my foundation away. And I mean, for 2 or 3 years, I was like, that was the first time I went into counseling. I wasn't naming my anxiety at that point, but that really took me more into my desire to help others and to become a counselor myself, because light bulbs were starting to come on for me. I think I was just an overthinker. Even though I was lackadaisical and irresponsible, I was also just all in my head all the time. How can I fix this? What conversation can I have with my mom to convince her that this is not the thing she wants to do? I was trying to be the savior of my family. And then now with my other family member currently going through a divorce, like I found that same energy, like I will save this situation. I will tell them how it needs to be, and then this is going to be fixed. And it's not going to be fixed by me.
So this is really good. This is really interesting. You've already got a stone in your shoe. I'm not sure if you realize it or not. You're like, here's why I think I might be a 6, but this is why I think I'm not a 6. Well, two things. That's very common for a 6 to kind of go back and forth also. But at the same time, there are other types that the same behaviors as what
reactions
that you're talking about now, especially when you're talking about trauma layers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you're talking about trauma layers of childhood and not feeling safe, so any type cannot feel safe, right? That's what stress is. My survival, whatever that might be for that type, is being threatened, and so therefore I need a coping strategy. And so when we look at the behaviors in terms of the 9 acknowledgement languages, there are the stances, but when we're looking at that social style, do you go, when you need those answers, do you go towards people? Do you move away from people, or do you go against people? So basically what that means is the dependent stances. They are looking, they may already know the answer or maybe a subset of the answers that they will agree to. But they're looking for confirmation. So they'll go toward people for confirmation. And it may not be verbal, because like the extroverts will be verbal about it, but the introverts will just observe. But they're just trying to confirm their own opinions and their own line of thinking. And the aggressive stances are looking more for someone to, they really are looking for someone to contradict. So it's kind of the opposite. And
so the 3s, the 7s, and the 8s.
And then the withdrawn, they're just, they don't want the distraction of the people to mess with whatever they're thinking, feeling, or doing. And so they withdraw from others. So it's that social style that we just look at the labels, which is why I don't use the stance language really, because when we just use the labels, we think of, I mean, anybody can be dependent, right? But if you look at the social style, it's actually because I'm looking for answers in someone else. Does that make sense?
The concept makes sense, but I'm trying to relate it back to me, like in my most recent stress situation. Like I was so intensely trying to help her and rescue or save or protect all involved, that I was relying on my head knowledge, my book knowledge, my counseling knowledge to get that safety. So like sister, like I'm trained in this. I know that this is, I have this safety support of what I've read. So this goes back to your question earlier. Personally, asking others for support, like a person, hasn't been my go-to. Like I probably should do that more, because I do need more of that connection with people. I've gone to like a resource. So if I can read a book, and that sounds more 5-ish.
Or 7.
Right? Or 7. Yeah. I think I've just completely blocked off, like, that I'm not a 7. Like I've turned it off so hard, because I don't have the energy. Like I am a introvert. Give me the bed, give me a nap, give me stop it. Stop it right now.
Didn't I say that in my book? I'm like, wait, I am way too like introverted. I'm way too like sometimes I'm the rock star, sometimes I'm the wallflower. And here's the thing with the whole rock star thing, I wouldn't label myself as the rock star. It's other people who label me that.
Interesting. When I've been around sevens that I am fairly certain that they are sevens, I'm just kind of in awe. I just watch sevens like, how do you do it? You're amazing. And whenever I watch, you do?
I do.
Whenever I watch sixes, I'm like, ugh, you're annoying. And that's why I haven't wanted to be a six.
Well, to be honest, we're all annoying.
Yeah, no, you're so right.
We're all annoying. We're in our own heartwarming way.
Yeah.
So talking about, well, what type am I? I still question, but that is what the blue types do. Blue types are questioners. So the 5, 6, and 7s, they are questioners. And when you look at the experience gate, which we're talking about, do you experience your world through your thoughts and your ideas and your beliefs? Or do you experience your world by the way you move in the world, like kinesthetically or sensorial? Or do you experience your world emotionally? So how would you?
For me, it's more of the ideas and the thinking part. I think the discrepancy for me has been because of the medication that does ease that part of me up. I was getting kind of focused in on the 9, the 8, and the 1, and I do feel I can veer towards the perfectionism of the 1, and I can veer towards the I don't like your look. You're like, I can veer towards the perfectionism of a 1, and that anger can come out towards from the 8. And then, like I've said, the other qualities of the 9 that I already was kind of pigeonholing myself into. That's why, even though I knew I was a thinker, I've been turning myself off from the language of the 6. So, maybe I just need to go back to the drawing board altogether.
That's what we're doing now, right?
Yeah.
That's sort of a cliffhanger there, but come back for part 2 in the next episode to see how the rest of the conversation plays out. Now, if you're interested in learning more about the 9 acknowledgement languages, either to identify or confirm your Enneagram type, I have a special link for you. It's go.unboxenneagram.com/grand. Join the communication list for the grand opening of Unbox University and receive an early bird offer for $100 off the group coaching option for the 9 Acknowledgement Languages course, among other special offers that are only going to be exclusive to you on the list. This course is going to be walking you through the process of identifying which acknowledgement languages your psyche is craving that's keeping you from being you. Let's unbox yourself together so you can unleash your power. Thank you for listening, subscribing, and reviewing the Unbox Your Personality podcast. To learn more about yourself, go to powercoachjen.com. Find out how you are different so you can make your difference.